Hey y'all, it's Megan and we are working on my Goldie pattern. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to sew the side slit option. It's going to give you a really clean finish on the corners where the side seam and the hem meet. You are going to put your front and back pieces right sides together, and from the side slit marking, you are going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way to the underarm. Now, I like to use my sewing machine from the marking and I go up just a few inches so I get a really clean and precise seam allowance here, and then I will finish the rest of the seam with my serger. So I just cut a little rectangle into the seam, but not to or through that seam line, so it's easier to get my serger foot all the way up to that marking, and I can sew the rest of the side seam with the 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way up to the underarm. Now, if you're doing this side slit option on both sides, then you would do the same thing to the other side seam, or if you're just doing one, then you would sew from the hem to the underarm all the way up on the other side. So then I'm just going to continue sewing the 1/2 inch seam allowance until I hit the underarm. Next, you are going to take your dress to your ironing board and you are going to press the unsewn side seam a 1/2 inch toward the wrong side. And you're going to do this on each of the unsewn edges. And you are also going to press the bottom hem up 1/2 inch, and you can use some best press or some spray starch here if your fabric isn't holding the press very well. So press each side a 1/2 inch toward the wrong side, and then press the bottom hem up also 1/2 inch. Then you're going to take it back to your machine and you are going to unfold the edges and you're going to fold the side seam edge a 1/2 inch toward the right side, and we're going to mark a 1/2 inch from the bottom hem on that folded side seam edge, just like this. Then you are going to sew directly on that little 1/2 inch marking. You can use a straight stitch or a longer triple stitch. Either one will work, and you will do this on every corner. Then I like to cut a little square from the folded edge up, not too close and not through that seam line, but close, so you cut a little square just to reduce the bulk of the corner. Then flip it back toward the wrong side, and you can use a chopstick or other tool. I like to use this little purple thing to help press the corner out so it is nice and then go ahead and repeat that on all of the corners. If you did just one slit, then you'll just have 2, and if you did the double slit, then you will have 4. Then we're going to edge stitch on the side seam slits. I do like to use my sewing machine for the side seam portion, and I use a longer triple stitch here, and I like to use it because at this top of the slit, then I can leave my needle down. I turn my foot, put it back down, stitch along the top, and then again leave my needle down, lift my foot and turn, and then continue down the other side of the slit. And I find that gives me the cleanest finish. Then once I have sewn each of the side seam slits, I will take it to my cover stitch and go ahead and use my cover stitch to finish the bottom hem. Now you can use a cover stitch on all the sides or the sewing machine on all the sides. It's whatever your preference is. Once I'm done hemming everything, then I will take it back to my iron and give it a really nice press to make sure everything is flat and looking nice, and then it is complete. If you have any questions about this method, you can leave it down below and I will try to answer. As always, if you make a Goldie, we would love to see it posted in our Facebook group or on Instagram at Made for Mermaids, hashtag Made for Mermaids Patterns, hashtag Goldie Pattern.